Good morning, my name is Jay Sung. Everything in today's video is never financial, investment, or trading advice of any kind. Everything's just for entertainment, educational, and comedic purposes only. I ate red crayons for breakfast. Trading in the markets carries substantial risks. Never trade more than you can afford to lose, and especially be aware against high leverage trading. Past performance is never indicative of future performance. Let's jump into our cryptocurrencies. This is an important area that we've been looking at for over, I think, 2 weeks now. 4.45. We were almost there just a few days ago, and I said, I think it was right here on the May 9th, I said, watch us to hit this number, 4.45. I said, I'm going to be looking more at the high side of this number because of all the supports in this area and the overlapping supports. So most of these overlapping supports are all here, and then here's our target. And you can see our target was hit so far only just once on the conservative side, right here on the day of, let's see, what day was this? May 13th. And it looks like it hit it exactly. You can see that it just right there on the top. Spike, come up, come down. The next day, it's down, sitting on these supports. This is a little bit of a bullish area. However, some of the first signs of some of that weakness will not be revealed on the daily chart. As we can see, it's messy. We got this line here, which is acting like one of our supports. It is not being respected on the smaller time frame charts. Now we know that in our art, the higher time frames the higher time frame structures will often take more precedence. But you can see that the only structure here on the daily chart is just a flat. Okay, it's just a flat. So on one side, we see that there's a flat, so there's no white line that exists. But if you turn on the weekly chart, and that's why I wrote the word weekly, you can see that the line indeed does exist. So this means, and what this interprets is that we still have support still at 3.81 to 3.76 area, but we also need to be realistic and understand that there may be some weaknesses that are entering the markets over the next few weeks if things continue to be messy. So we'll see that play out, that messiness, and we're going to need to pay attention to how that messiness is going to look. So let me make sure that you have a chance to take a good screenshot. This is the two time frames I'm going to be watching. The weekly chart, if we get some closes on here next week and the week of May 19th, I'm going to be looking for things to be a little bit messy. And the other reasons we're going to be looking for it to be messy, and what I mean by messy is back and forth, is because those supports are still going to be in play. So even though this would technically be a bearish area, because of all the supports that are here, we're going to be looking to bounce around. And what we can do to denote that is I can put a weakness bar, but I can also give it a yellow border. Now when I give this a yellow border, what I'm reminding myself in our art is that this is a delay territory. Okay, a delayed territory is a territory that kind of wastes your time, and it gets a lot of nowhere. It's a lot of back and forth, but you're not really making progress one way or the other. Now, if we get a rejection in this area, let's pull these back. Those targets were all hit, so I'm going to fade these away real quick. If we reject in this area, coming back up, that would be a negative thing for cryptos. As it is, it looks like we're finding that pressure by spiking these areas, but still finding support along this line on the high time frame, which means we can still be messy over the next few weeks, but also come back and properly move up higher. And maybe that's going to be the seasons when we start hitting the sevens. This is going to be the sevens in the future, possibly. Also on the weekly chart, I'm starting to see this kind of, let me move to a 2-day chart. On the 2-day chart, I can also see this kind of curve shape going on. So I drew it. So that means that if I go up, I'm going to be looking at some resistances down here over the next few weeks, and that's going to be about 5.3%. And so that means that the markets may turn against us and become bearish as this moves up. Now, just remember, if you're new to this chart, is super important. When this chart moves up, your cryptos move down. When this chart moves down, your cryptos move up. So if this has a chance to come back up, we're going to be looking for some of the cryptos to come off their highs, and then we're going to be looking for something like this to come into play. This is going to be a little bit of a reject. This move from here to here would be, you would see some of the profits that the markets have made from the moves of the original weaknesses here and coming down. We're going to be seeing that this is going to reverse, and so you're going to see some of those profits get wiped off the board. So this might be a chance where some of you want to take some profits in the markets for some of the bullishness that we've been in as this has came down. We had plenty of time to get into some bullish position trade, so nobody has any, oh, we missed it, it came out of nowhere. Not really. We had weakness here, we had the weakness here, and we were playing there, and then we cleared those territories very quickly. So anybody who's following our USDT.D chart, none of this should surprise you at all. So right now we are, as it is, at one of those reversal areas. So what I'm going to be looking for is the market to do something like this. I'll go ahead and draw it for you so you can see what we're more likely going to expect. We're going to take some of these supports, and it's going to reverse us and reject us back here with a higher probability. And this is where we're going to be looking for this to reject, and we're going to look to come back down into these areas, and this could be represented by some messiness. So two ways that can happen. We can either get some messiness and spike up to those areas, or we can just come up here right now, and then based on these 3 points that are outside the board here and here, they form the parabolic curve that we use so much in our art. That is something we use to a great success. So this is where we're going to be looking most likely to see some of that rejection. It's going to be a move up. That's going to mean this is going to be, we're going to see take profits, okay? And that doesn't mean like you take somebody prophetic, okay? That just means I'm just kidding. Okay, so this is going to be something that I'm looking for. This is not financial investment or trading advice, but this is where I'm going to be probably looking to take some profit. Now, the other reason I probably do want to take profits as well is because even if I don't, and this is a messy area, and I see prices spiking at these areas, which it may, and it may end up building some round action to either come up or come through to this side properly. The reason is on the daily chart, this indicates this is a messy or delay territory. So I'm going to put the word delay / messy. Okay, let me make this a little bit smaller so you can see. Delay, messy territory. Okay, so when we're getting into delay top territory, we are talking about cryptos, a region where price moves a lot of back and forth. And when I put delay, I often give it that yellow border. So we're going to put these words also yellow. Okay, so you can see that. And how that looks, a lot of up and down. This is the symbol for delay. And we know the territory, it's coming up. So if we're allowed to stay bullish, and we stay bullish for the next few weeks, or the next few, what is this, a daily? Yeah. So for the next week or so, if we start staying bullish, most likely USDT.D is going to be priming itself in this carry, or building itself in here. And that means you're going to get some closes in these areas, right? Those closes are going to give us these roofs. So therefore, you're going to see this move back and forth. So either way, if we see bullishness continue, but we're really not making any headway, that means that the prices of current cryptos that are at their resistance stay at those resistance. They get stuck at those resistance. I'm not even gonna have to look at this chart. By the way, there are times when I don't have to look at the crypto market. There's so many times we don't have to look at the crypto market. We just need to look at this chart. And there are times that I'm getting notification on my phone about the crypto market that I don't have to even look at USDT.D. In fact, I haven't looked at it all weekend. I was with my mom celebrating the holiday, and I was not looking at this chart at all. But I already knew we had hit it. I was like, yeah, we must have hit it because I'm getting all these notifications for certain cryptos hitting their targets. So when they hit their targets, I'm like, yeah, USDT.D had to have its move. And over the week, we didn't have to look at it. Although we did look at it, we knew exactly what was happening. Once we're in those prime areas, it just plays out for that territory. If those are the odds in our favor, most likely that's the most scenario that's going to happen. So it's getting all these cryptos at these targets, this is letting us know, hey, this is where it's supposed to happen. So if I get a little bit more bullish, but not much more bullish action, I already know what's happening. I'm entering this underside of this white line on that weekly chart, and this is only for the weekly. The words cut off here, but I'm just going to remind you by putting here weekly chart. So you can only see this white line if you draw on the weekly chart, but the daily chart, there's no white line. You won't be able to draw it, okay? So that means that this is a delay coming up unless we reject now. Most likely we're going to reject now and get messy later. But if we get messy later and crypto's not going back, we don't see any retracements, we don't see XRP losing its top, we don't see Bitcoin moving much far away from 105 to 107,000 or something. By the way, if we hit 107,000, we're going to be on the lower side of this 4.5, the area, what was it? 4.3 area. Here's 4.32 area. You will see price only there. That doesn't really change the scenario. So this is 4.32%. Yeah, that's 4.32%. So I don't expect us to lose so much profits, and I believe you're going to have some time to take some profits if we just don't immediately reject this week. I really believe there's incentive to play down here, and then we're going to need to watch it carefully. Okay, so here's going to be my next prediction about what I see and forecast in the market. If USDT.D does indeed stay in the messy territory and we start forming the resistance on top of these areas here, if we start forming the resistance on top of that area, then what I'm going to be looking for is to come back down and properly hit these targets such as 4.64%. Somewhere in that range is what I would be actually looking for us to do. And that's a possibility that will be on the board, but I don't think we're just going to go right there right now. That's why I think we have time to take profits to see if we're going to either get some better entries again later on or see this change on top in these areas. And that means that we would have a possibility of going up further. It's a possibility. We also have that possibility as right now of rejecting. But these are going to be the decision areas that I believe we're going to have to make decisions. They're going to be up there, closer to right now 5.03, and also it's going to be revealed in the coming weeks, in the coming weeks, somewhere above the white angle, and that's the week on that weekly chart only. So that's going to be what I'm going to use as a big predictor of what's going to be happening again as up here. And then the other one is going to be underneath 4.32. So somewhere underneath 4.32, just like we built solidly under these two targets here. You guys can see these are the two targets. 1 and then 2. We have them on the board for many weeks, so you guys all know where those targets are. If I see price building underneath those rather than building on top, I know I'm going down. And that was the symbols that I drew for you guys. We pointed out we're getting here for few days. We were pointing, hey, we're going to get here. That means you want to be in bullish positions. You want to have some crypto that has a good position to move up. If you have those cryptos that are sitting on top of their supports, cryptos that have targets that are just in the way, look for those targets to be hit. And then right now, again, since we hit our target, you want to be looking for some place to take profit, and then you're going to be watching later on for another entry. Do I have any live questions from our studio audience before we move on to the actual markets? Can you put that over there, please?
Can you zoom out a little bit?
Yep. Okay. So this is the 2-day chart. Okay. Yep. Let me move this. You need me to zoom out more?
Just trying to see if we see anything else. But...
Oh, yeah. There's going to be a lot to see past these territories. Okay. I think I only wanted to say one more thing. Based on the higher weekly chart, once we hit 4.4 or 4.16 area, and the crypto is down here, I'm going to be looking for us to come to the lower side. The old flat, possibly the 3.8 to 3.76, and even possibly our real main target 3.57. So that's going to be a big call. That means there's going to be some really bullish stuff going on. And since our swing target is just right here from 3.57, I'm actually going to be looking to hit closer to 3.58 to this big range, the 3.15 to 3.3. And then I'm going to play it a little bit by ear because I had a dream we were underneath here. I don't know if that's all going to happen now, so I'm not going to say, yeah, we're coming down here. No, we're still have some chances to actually be on the supporting side and move up. And then from here, we're going to need to watch what's happening at 5.3. So I really want to play this by the ear before I'm super bullish cryptos. When this comes down, I'm going to be bullish cryptos. But I want to make sure have more things in alignment before I start making calls. Because if I'm messy here, and I'm bouncing around in this delay territory on the higher time frames, as long as those closes are still above that white line, most likely we're going to still be moving up, okay? And that means that the markets will get bearish. So I don't want to be super bearish those cryptos right now until the game progresses. I also don't want to be super bullish until we're in that bullish territory. Right now we're at the resistances. We're at decision time. So this is not the time to be bullish or continue to be bullish. Right now is the time to take the profit from our previous bullish segment. And then if I'm going to be bearish, I might as well be bearish here at 5.32 or be bearish once I'm underneath that delay territory on the underside of some of these targets. At least I have some more, some more confidence that I'm going to be going lower. So right now, it's like buying at the top of a market. If I'm buying right now, I'm setting myself up for a little bit of risky behavior. I'd rather be here so I can take the trades from here to here, or even to here to the low. That might be something worth taking. I'm going to let somebody else assume the risk while it crosses over, because either way the market's going to move. But it's either going to move from here under these areas, okay, as I demonstrated in this video, underneath those two targets earlier, as we talked about earlier, or it's going to move back up when we come up to the 5.5 areas again. So either way, these are not good prices for entry. They're good prices for taking profits and letting someone else take the risk and let them get shaken out. Let the market show that they're going to need to, if you see retracements happen, you're going to know that this is coming back. If you see retracements happening in all your crypto prices. So you're like, yeah, cryptos are at good prices. But if they come back, you already know this pulled back. And if this pulls back, I at least want to get in at these prices, so I got another chance of taking advantage of the parabolic curve that is forming in this area. We know that's going to be a top, so we can start looking to come here, and if it breaks above and we change positions, then praise God, at least we're going to have more confidence that we now are going to be bearish cryptos. But right now, we want to just only watch for the next move to happen, because as I demonstrated today, it's either delay territory, which is this bearishness, or longer term bearishness as this moves up. Okay, it's a little bit of messy. It's going to be a messy territory over the next few weeks, or it's going to be bearish. One of those two options for just a short time. And either way, if we're going to be bullish, we need to get these prices or we need to get these prices, but not taking these prices here, because this is when this is when you can get shaken out. This is when you're going to see the lemmings chasing the markets. Oh yeah, it's time now, and they're gonna jump on board. But this needs to be clear, and right now the evidence is not clear. At least that's how I feel about this situation in these markets. I want it to be shown for what it is. Okay. Any other questions regarding how I feel about the markets right now? My take and my technical opinion. Going once. Going twice.
If we look at a smaller time frame, you think we can get a better idea if it's past that watch line?
No, absolutely not. And the reason is because we're already, as I mentioned earlier, we're messy on the daily chart. So this watch line doesn't exist. And if it doesn't exist it only exists on the weekly chart. And if it's not being respected by the daily chart, it's not even going to matter. It's going to matter even less on a smaller time frame. So if you were drawing that and I said, hey, draw this, you wouldn't have drawn that angle at all, and nor should you. The only lines you should draw are the flats, right? But we're not safe out of the blue with the flats. But when you do look at the weekly chart, then the line comes back. And you're saying, the weekly lines are powerful. Yes. But that means we have to wait even longer, not shorter. So we need to think closely about the matter. We need to think more broadly about the matter if we're using this particular watch line. Not zooming in even more, because then we're going to see things that are not there. at the very least, it's going to be messy for us because the line is not being respected on that higher time frame. So if it does come down, it's going to be a very messy thing, and that's another indication that things are going to get delayed. So that's why we have that border there. And I don't want you guys to get in trouble by zooming down when you should be actually zooming out. So that's a little bit of the protocol for that. If the line doesn't exist on the smaller time frames, use only the time frame where that line exists for that line. Not saying you shouldn't use smaller time frames for things, but use the smaller time frame for that line to exist when you're using that line for its intended purpose. Otherwise, don't use it at all. It'd be better for you to just only see the flats or only see other things you can see for that time frame. But for me, since I can see a lot of the time frames at once, just knowing how they're going to interact with each other, my opinion is it's going to be messy, and it's going to be more of a delay indication. Okay, any other questions regarding this particular chart? Okay, this is going to be a very important update. Okay, very important for you. Okay, now my prediction, I haven't looked at a chart since this weekend, okay, or since I left. I didn't pull up any charts. My prediction is that most of the cryptos, if we come to a crypto that we've talked about before, it's going to be a place of, they're going to be at resistances. A lot of the cryptos we were looking were almost at their targets. People said, do I take profit now? I said, no. In my opinion, I wouldn't. I would wait a little bit longer till they hit their targets or they hit the resistances because of USDT.D situation. Now USDT.D cleared the full territory, that length that we're looking for from here to here after the weaknesses. So now we need to be looking at some of these cryptos to now match their resistances. So if I'm pulling up lots of cryptos today, not ZNOG, that's a stock. But if I look at random cryptos from your request and I see those cryptos at the resistances, I'm going to be comparing them with this image. So that's just how I know it's probably going to be a more wiser for me to take that profit. Now you say it could break out. You're right, it could. But based on what we're seeing in the territory, most likely we're not. At least not yet. And if that's the case, or if you believe that, and that's what I believe, okay? I believe we're not just coming down here to 4.4. I think we're going to take a break. I think it's going to pull back, and then maybe we have another chance at the 4 point something, the 4.04, 4.06, at the very least. That's barring these supports here, the targets, target 1, and then another target based on another analysis in the same area. All of these targets are telling us we're going to be reversing direction. That lets me know if the cryptos we're looking at are at resistances, I need to take profit. Okay, so that's how I'm going to be trading this. I'm going to be looking specifically to take profit. And that's why I wrote this in. I'm taking profit here. Okay, so we need to pull back on some of the cryptos. Look to bank some cash, look for this to pull back, and then get back in, or watch for zoom in. We can zoom in once we get back to that territory and see, are we really rejecting here across on the weekly chart or on the daily charts? Some kind of structure indicating that I'm going to reverse here. Then I have a better chance to position myself to hit the target again, maybe properly, maybe on the low side, the 4.32 side, something like that, or even the lower 4.16 or 4.4. So there'll be some money to be made, a little bit of money, maybe not as much as the previous run when we had chances to enter here in these areas. But that's going to let me know what we're going to do. So that's the game plan that I have for myself. Again, this is never financial investment or trading advice of any kind, but this chart has served me well. All right, we ready? Any other questions regarding the game plan? Okay. If you're new to our community or you're watching this clip online, you need to understand that on our website, you can type in the word lessons and it's going to take you to our lessons page. We have lessons 1 through 17, plus we also have many bonuses from the upcoming sword method 7.0, such as key angle reverberations lessons, and some of the lessons where we teach you how to do our art of creating price maps on charts to help make navigating the crypto market so much more easier, because we use a territory-based method to see what territory price is entering in. Are we entering support, resistance, or resistance resistance areas? Are we looking at prices being primed, being pulled back into some of these areas where I call vortexes, which are like little black holes where price often gets sucked in so many times and just sits there and usually is getting ready to get shot out the opposite direction. And we see that so many times. And so that the lessons page, I hope it helps you if you guys are dive tier members. $18 for the full month on our website right here, patreon.com/jsong.com/jsong_7. Come to our website if you're watching this clip online, and we're going to be looking at lots of crypto. So if you want a price map of what's happening with some of your favorite cryptos on our website, you can just type in the BTC, ATH, STG, whatever crypto you're looking in, and most likely I have a map there. Otherwise, you can put a live request and I'll do it on my next session. We have 3 crypto sessions a week, Mondays and Saturdays, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and Wednesdays at 6 a.m., which we generally focus more on tutorials. All right, where we're going next, I'm excited about it, so hope that serves you well. All right, our next request comes from Catherine.
She said it's prophetic something. I don't know.
Something prophetic.
She said Prophet Kevin Drake heard it will go to $56,
Okay.
$560, and $1,120, but mentioned it goes from $5 to $1.44 to 92 cents,
92 cents.
and said it's to store on Tangem.
Tangem wallet. And that was from Kevin Drake, somebody. Okay, somebody named Kevin Drake. Some of you guys, I've heard of him. I don't know who he is. We'll go from $56, $560, 1120, but also mentioned. Okay, so big disconnect between these numbers. Okay, so I'll just put what Catherine said. Thank you, Catherine, for giving that to us. Appreciate that. Now let's put that aside and let's draw some stuff on this map. How about that? Welcome, everybody. All right, this is the crypto. We got some data from October 2022, and I'm going to make sure that this gets added to my watch list. So we're looking at on Bybit. What is this one? Premium Index, Binance. What is that? Oh, no. And then I want to check on crypto.com to see if they had farther data. And they do, they just don't have volume here. Okay, this one goes back to 2016. So we're going to use this chart as well. We'll just use both, but I'll use the other one for volume. Okay, so first let me look at the volume real quick on Bybit, and then I'll draw the other chart. Okay, if this crypto is being accumulated on the weekly chart, you can see something like this. And if it is being accumulated in this area, and the macro volume analysis, and that's going to be represented by these down moves that previously had no interest in them. We were very low interest, but then as we come down in these areas, we can see in the macro volume, yep, this one's here. We can see in these segments the increase in volume. So let me put this macro so you guys know what type of analysis I'm performing. So we can start seeing the increase in these two areas, here and here, and these are going to be for these two. Sorry, this one. This should be the same. Right? Yep, approximately. We can see that in these areas there may be some accumulation longer term. So the sentiment may be changing. So from here to here, this down move, that's where going to be some of the buying possibly happening here, and then this one and this one. We also see that it may be that the supply is draining, and that's a good thing. If they're going to be accumulating at lower prices, we're going to be looking for there to be a drop off after the initial buying is taking place. So we're seeing some high volume in these areas. It's possible some buying is coming in, but we also want to see that the supply is absorbed. If I'm challenging these lower areas again, such as, what is this, 70 cents, somewhere around 70 cents area. If I'm seeing that the volume is still very high as we challenge these areas, then that means that even if it's buying, they're not going to succeed. Most likely you're going to see lower prices. But when we see a heavy drop off at these areas, it's a good sign that the supply may be being absorbed. Now the whole area I cannot confirm until we're in a healthy area, and I'll show you where that healthy area is in just a moment. But right now, as it is, it does appear that it's possibly being accumulated and being absorbed. Okay, so let me put this in my notes real quick. Okay, waves. Let's say May 14th, 2025. Waves appears to be, I want to say it appears to be being accumulated. So there's a better English word for that. Appears to be in an accumulation stage on the down moves when viewing the macro volume analysis. In addition, in viewing it, I also see the supply possibly being absorbed as shown on the Bybit chart, the volume moving down as price moves also to its lower supports / challenge areas. Okay, so what all that means is that as we're getting back to the lows, the supply is coming down, and that's what we want. We want the supply to come down in that area. We want it to decrease. So this is where we want it to look something like that. So this is the symbol that I often draw when I'm drawing the macro. So I'm increasing on the down moves, which is nice. That's great. That's what we need first, especially for the transition. So I got the increase. But this last down move, we can still see that there's a lot of volume, but the volume's going in the right direction. So it's still aggregately high. It might look like something like this if we're drawing it. It's still aggregately high, but it's also headed in the right direction for supply absorption. If absorption is to take place, and this is not a real tutorial because I teach about this quite a bit, but if absorption is supposed to take place, you need to remove the floating supply. Okay, let me just write that down here for you guys. If absorption is taking place, and to succeed, the floating supply must be removed. The floating supply must be removed. Otherwise, the game is very long. Okay? The game will be very long. Okay? So what that means, let's put it here. Okay? And then I'll rewrite this word, removed. It's a key word. The supply has to decrease. Looks like that. Okay? It looks like that. The supply has to be removed. Otherwise, they accumulate. But if the supply keeps increasing at all of these areas, and we see overall, we keep increasing, that means they're losing the game. It's very expensive to bring prices up in those areas. It's if you're winning Monopoly, let me put this to you in English. If I'm playing Monopoly, and I love to play the red houses on the red property on Monopoly. I don't know what it's called, but it's red. It's my favorite color, one of my favorite colors, red and white. If I'm going to build and buy the Monopoly pieces, there's times when I'll play with somebody and I'll make a deal if they have the red. I got the first red, they get the second red, and I'll say, hey, can I trade you this property for that one? And they say, oh yeah, it's fine. Now my sister, she notices. My older sister, she notices that I'm wanting the reds. She knows I'm going to play the reds. So what she does is she starts charging me more for the red because she knows my demand is too high. And it gets very expensive now, even though I'm accumulating those properties. She knows I'm accumulating them. The game will show that we're in accumulation. But there are times when there are certain situations, like in this situation, more people will dump at those prices. They'll know they'll pay cheaper prices. There'll be times when I have to take a loss just to accumulate. There'll be times when I have to put myself in a bad position if I'm so determined to accumulate. Now, because this phenomenon happens in real life, instead of paying higher prices, if we know that there's too much floating supply, they're going to charge higher prices because now the buyers who are part of here are not shaking out, such as maybe this bar right here. They're not all shaking out. So they may charge you very expensive prices. Once you get to $2.60, they're going to take profit. Now, if you're in a buy position and they're in a buy position, you don't want them to take profit, because if they take profit at $2.60 or $4 or at the resistance, and there is a resistance around there, I'm going to show you in just a bit. But just say that the masses are going to take profit at $2.60. What they're going to do is when they place an order, they put it on the market. And so now if you want prices to go higher, you have to pay that price just for it to continue. And by saying by you, I don't mean you as a small trader. If you were a bank, a hedge fund, a financial institution, if you were one of the billion-dollar traders, when you're the million-dollar traders, many of you guys are going to be like that. And I'm going to host special seminars during those days at certain conferences, maybe on cruises and things like that. And I'm going to teach you guys how to think like this, because it's a completely different mindset than your current trading. I'm just letting you know right now how the game works. So if you are accumulating, just like I want those red prices, there are going to be more offerings at lower prices that you don't want. You want the $14, you want the $22, the $52. You want some of those higher prices. You're accumulating for a reason. You're not accumulating for chump change. You invest in a lot, not for the local trade, which is maybe just the local legs like that. You want the big stuff. That's why they accumulate over years. They play the long game. Here, what is 2022? Okay, so if their accumulation starts happening, like that's been happening maybe since 2024, you have to be able to win the game. And the way you win, and the way I can start requesting higher prices for my 3 properties, is I have to have the 3 properties. You understand? When you play Monopoly, those reds aren't good to me with just 1. They're not really good to me with just 2. You have to have all the cards. Or in other words, in trading, when it comes to accumulation and absorption, you have to absorb all the floating supply out there. My sister in this example represents the person who's holding the other supply. I have not removed all the floating supply, so I cannot build 3 red houses and then build a hotel on it. You can't do that with Monopoly. You have to remove the floating supply. So I have to get the cards out of the hands of my sister before I can actually raise the rent. Okay, so this is a simple example from Monopoly, but it actually happens in the markets. When there is accumulation, you have to have absorbed the supply. You can't just accumulate. Accumulating is me buying one for my brother or my other family member, and absorption is when I have bought it from my family member and from my sister, and I now control the bulk of the cards, because now I can start building those hotels and putting the houses and building the hotels, and it's the same way in the markets. So this is how it actually works in real life. I can see the game, and if you don't absorb all the floating supply, then you have to shake those people out. You have to put them in a bad position, which means you have to bring prices down. They're going to hate it because they bought at the top of the market, and they're going to be like, oh, I just want to get out. And then they're going to get out, and you'll see high volume areas start to go in the right direction, such as this. So that's a quick example of supply absorption happening. So in my opinion, it looks like it's going to happen. Now, I spent too much time looking at this crypto, so let me show you one other thing I'm going to be looking at with this one. For this, we're going to go to copy and paste this image, and I'm going to go to crypto.com, that other one, Waves USD, crypto.com, and this one has more data. So I'm going to look, although I'm going to show you just a little bit. We're going to draw that parabolic that I show you, which is the resistance area here, and it's going to be approximately in these areas. So this is a weekly chart, so we need to clear approximately this price over here, and that's going to be $1.95. So price needs to be building above 195 before we really have a chance to go anywhere. Current price is 133. That's not so far away. Are we going to challenge here again? At the moment, I don't know, but right now that's where it looks like. Okay, now I'm going to bring this down to the lower area, and then I'm going to do our 50% halfway area, and maybe that's going to give me something. All right, so I can see already our mid-phantom should be halfway between here and here. Actually, it's about right there. Okay, we can see our mid-phantom price is giving us some kind of response on the underside, but it's disrespecting, which means, what this means is when I'm respecting an area, but I'm also disrespecting the same line. So here you can see I'm respecting the underside, then I'm respecting here, but I'm disrespecting it here. That tells me I'm dealing with mid-phantom, which means the oscillation is much wider. Okay, which means I'm looking at these areas as a bottom, these areas as the top. That kind of reinforces that top, and it reinforces that bottom. Okay, so that's how that works. It makes it so that this is MP, mid-phantom. This is going to be our key angle, and this is our phantom angle. Okay, now let's level these out just a bit. I'm going to show you where they level out. Let's take our highlighter. It's going to level out somewhere about right there, I think. So somewhere about those prices. Okay. To denote that, I'm going to just take a flat bar at the apex. We're going to make it yellow, and I'll just make a tight range. Here is 16 cents to 12 cents. We'll duplicate it, put one on the top side, about where it levels out, somewhere about right there. And that's going to level out at $1.09 and 84 cents. Okay, so now I can delete this. Now this hasn't come out to, right now it's not currently in play, but you're going to see it level out somewhere about there. So that's for a time in the future in case we continue to be bullish, or I'm sorry, in case we continue to be bearish. All right, now with that said, we're going to do a few simple things with this one to show you where some of these resistances. For this, I'm going to go to a 2-week chart. The first thing we're going to draw is our sword cut based on our larger structure. So here and here, we got 2 large sword cuts. We're going to draw here the angle, and the sword cut area is where they break. So that's our sword cut. That's where we draw our flat block. Okay, so this would be an example right here of price hitting this sword cut area. So to draw that a little bit professionally, it would be simply and simple as this. And let's use the wick side right now. Okay, and then I'm going to take our sword cut area. It's about right there, and bring it in. And it should be orange. Okay, so we're left with seeing price rejecting on the underside here twice, rejecting at the sword cut 1, 2, and 3 times before coming down. So this whole territory is a bearish territory. If we were in a bullish uptrend, we shouldn't be below this line for the most part, or rejecting on the underside of the sword cuts. Okay, that's not what should be happening if we're bullish. So right now we're actually a little bit bearish. Now with this said, we'll duplicate this and see if this angle this key angle here matches the event line, which I don't think it does. Maybe it's a little messy here. Yeah, it matches. So that's going to reinforce your sword cut area. It's going to reinforce that lower angle, and which is why we hit it multiple times. So that would have been information we could have had if we seen this crypto. It would have been easy to look in the past and see these things. All right, with that said, since it's bearish, we only want to hunt the down move with this crypto, but we got to be really careful of hunting bearish trades in a bullish territory. Since we're going to be short-term bearish right now, USDT.D possibly over the next few weeks. Since we're at profit taking area, we want to possibly look for some of the cryptos to take profits on, not cryptos that we're really going to be shorting just yet. So at the moment, this is coming off of a support. Let's make sure that the wick, to see if the wicks match, and they match. So we're going to be looking at these two areas. I'll point that out. I would say that right now it looks like this is reversing. So $1.06 right now is a support, and 89 cents is a support area. So I would be still looking for this one to come up and possibly hit the 191. If things get a little bit bearish, you have a little window of time before you have to reverse position. You want to see prices building underneath those two prices before you start doing anything shorting with this crypto. So right now I don't really want to short it. It looks like we're in a territory where we're probably going to be moving back up, and that's what I'm going to put. Okay, so I'm going to be looking something like that and something like this, and these two areas would signify us moving down. This one, we don't have to make any decisions right now so much about this at the moment, but most likely we're going to be hitting here over the next month. Here's about July. Here's the month of July. So there it is. Okay. All right. Any other questions regarding Wave? All right. Any other questions regarding Wave? Going once, going twice. Okay. Once, going twice. All right. Okay, the next one I'm going to look at is ZNOG. We're going to do a little bit less tutorial today, although I can't help it on Wednesday especially. Can you make that big?
Short update on ZNOG.
Yeah, we do ZNOG pretty often, so it'll be a short update, yeah. Can I have a little bit of that banana bread? It's soft, it's easy to eat while I'm working. It's not a breakfast, but you can eat. All right, let's take a look at ZNOG. All right, a few things for ZNOG. Let's start with the monthly chart. This is something we have. Some important areas for ZNOG. We had a sword cut here. Looks like we hit that sword cut back in April. We are pulling back up into this area. Some of the highs I got is $23 for this month. Current price is 15 cents for Zion Oil and Gas. I also have a high at 35. I'm really looking to get above 35 before we start thinking about this thing fully reversing on us. Otherwise, right now we're going to be looking for a price to be building supports just in these areas alone, such as price building above this area here, this parabolic, based on these tops, and that's what the sword cut is right now. So I'm actually looking for this to continue to move up. We also want to understand that the whole thing has been bearish for quite a while. So I don't know if that's going to change anytime soon until we can get some new territories going on under our belt. Otherwise, this is just recovery stuff. This is just like price moving within its own area. So I'm not going to be super bullish this area right now as it is. It doesn't appear to be so. Now, this is going to be bullish for the fact that we went to 70 cents and may come up to 34 cents. And I'm sorry, yeah, 7 cents. 7 cents, yeah. And we move it to 34 cents. That's big on its own right, but I don't know if that's telling us we're going like to the dollars or anything like that just yet. But it is a lot of money to be made just in those territories and from our sword cut. And again, that's 079, 0702. So again, 7-8 cents is the maximum somewhere there. The other thing about this stock that I like is the high volume on the down bar. Okay, so as we have the down bar, we know that professional buying has to happen on down moves, in down trends, and in down territories. And we can see that are in down areas. So we can see that price move down and we see a strong volume on that down bar. So that's a sign of some accumulation beginning to happen. But in addition to that, if we see high volume on those areas, don't be surprised if the volume is excessively high, that we challenge there again to confirm that the supply is indeed being absorbed around 7 cents. So does that mean we're going to hit only 22 and then come back down and challenge, or we're going to go straight to higher prices? We don't know, but it's definitely a place where we want to start our look. We want to look on those down moves and those down bars, and that's basically where I would accumulate. If we had broken out of this territory, that's where I would be looking. If I was a bank, a hedge fund, a financial institution, that's where I would be looking to strike. That's when the game changed. We broke out of this area here, and you can see that we also broke out on a type of pushing volume. It was one of the highest volumes we had as we crossed over, and that's what I call pushing volume. It's a volume to push us onto the other side. So the next best prices are when we come back to that breakout area, which is what we call the sword cut, and that's that orange area right here. So that would have been the next best prices to accumulate after we broke out, and we hit there in that month of April, and that's where we have the really high volume bars. So right now, the breakout pushing, that tells us it's on purpose. The pullback, it's telling us that's where professionals are buying. So if they're buying or they're accumulating in these areas, we are going to be looking more to the upside. We're going to be looking at 23 cents and 35 cents. Do I have any other questions regarding the Zion oil and gas right now? Okay. I hope this analysis helps you. These are some important areas that I got on the map. Going once. Going twice. Let's move on. What I have Bitcoin question? Oh, I know. Bitcoin question. Somebody was asking me about shorting Bitcoin. I'm not interested in shorting Bitcoin just yet, although I might be interested maybe this week. Somebody is asking, can I do a class on shorting Bitcoin? And well, let me pull up my Bitcoin map. Okay. I want to be bearish Bitcoin if I'm going to be looking to short Bitcoin. I'd want to be bearish Bitcoin. And right now, if we compare, and this is going to go back to my talk about game plan. If you missed my game plan lesson with the USDT.D, I want you to rewatch this video, go back to that section. This is very important. Okay, very important. This is my crypto game plan for this week. Okay, or for the next few weeks. We were looking at cryptos that are going to be at their targets, at their resistance areas, and then from there we're going to be looking for retracements. Okay, right now that's what's going to happen. So normally, I don't want to short Bitcoin unless USDT.D is in that area. But right now USDT.D is in a messy area where it may or has a high probability of reversing. Watch the video. It's in a messy area that has a high probability of reversing, which means we're going to be looking for cryptos to have hit their targets. We're going to be looking for cryptos to hit their resistance areas. So as such, Bitcoin may be coming up to that zone, and I'm going to show you something we're going to look at. So we had targets here at 92, 90. We also had targets at 100, 198, and then I have another chart with Bitcoin hitting somewhere around 107, 104, 105, somewhere around there. And right now the price is 103, and we hit our 105 number on May 12th. Okay, so this area is prime for flats. Okay, look at the flat. I'm going to bring up one of the most recent flats, and it is here. Let's use the wick side. It's about right there, and then the core side is going to be a little bit lower. It's going to be right there. Okay, so we can see we're basically there or coming there. With the messiness on USDT.D, I'm expecting we're going to hit there more properly. So these targets right here are going to get faded out since they're already hit. Okay, then we can shrink these numbers as well. Our most recent target, you can see price is sitting on top of here. So again, if the messiness in USDT.D is towards the lower area, that means we're going to be a little still bullish in these territories, but not extremely bullish, which means I'm not looking to break out into new territories. I'm looking to build on existing territories. So for me, that's going to equal something like this. And I'm going to draw it for you. For me, I'm going to be looking to be a little bit slightly bullish. Okay, slightly bullish, but not much more than we already are. So in other words, we already hit our territory. Based on the USDT.D, we should have hit the targets, which we did. And we're still slightly bullish. So we're sitting on top of these targets, and the all-time high from our old flat is now upon us. So I'm going to stay only slightly bullish, which means I got to be looking to, as we talked about, take profits from our video that we did earlier. Watch the video, okay? Watch the video. It's going to explain everything. JSON's crypto game plan, USDT.D right now. Watch that. So we're going to be looking to take some profits, and I would probably say you're going to probably be able to get away with 1 or 2 or 3 more days at least of some of these high prices. We're not talking anything new. We're not talking about that. New? No. Okay, we're not looking for nothing new. We're just looking for something higher based on the current resistances of those existing cryptos. So that's where I see. Until the game changes on USDT.D, I don't need to be there. Now, I'll tell you, you have time. You got time because of the slope. So there's a sharp slope that gives you a few days. Look at how many bars we can fit in here. So I would say you got this month. Here's June. Here's May. Here's about mid-May. You're going to get to about mid-May. Okay? So you got a little time. So if I was you, I'd be looking possibly to take some profits. You may want to hold out a day or two, see if you can get that, and then get out. And then just because we get out does not mean we're going to short, but it may be possibly we're going to be shorting. I want to short when USDT.D is more clear. And if it reverses on those weekly charts, maybe I'm going to look for a short position. But the messiness on the daily is going to give me a little bit of conflicting pull to the downside. So I want to be careful shorting. I'm not so confident I want to short just yet, so I'm not gonna. So to answer the question, can I host a shorting class on Bitcoin? Right now, it's not something I really want to do just yet, but I may do that in the bearish territory, and then I may do it when USDT.D changes. So for right now, let's now clean up this chart a bit. Let's clean up this chart. We don't need some of this on the board, so we'll simplify things. Okay, let me now draw that weakness that's possibly coming up, and I'll draw these watch lines, and we'll put them in white and give you a conservative angle based on just the cores, and that's done. I wish you could fade away circles. Can we fade away circles? Let's now put a weakness on the board for where that weakness will come in. It's around these same prices, which means that if prices just staying the same, you're going to be coming down. So it's not so much about the price at all. You will not see a much big change on price, and that could be bearish alone. So if all price does is just stay the same, we're going to phase through onto that side, and that alone is bearish. So we're going to be looking for that to fall when that happens. Okay, now how far are we going to be looking to fall if that happens and we don't break out of any new territory? By the way, let me show you that new territory. And I have 2 Bitcoin charts, so this is going to be one, and the other one I'm going to show you in a bit. Bitcoin building above this area will and should be bullish as well. So what is that? Around 108,000. So 108K, you build me above there, then we can start talking about going higher. But until then, most likely we're going to be phasing through. That means all price has to do is stay the same, and it will automatically become weak. So if you see Bitcoin not doing anything, still hanging around 102 to underneath 108, then you're going to see us become bearish. This will become active. Okay, so look for that to happen for Bitcoin. All right, everybody got that one? Get your screenshot for that one. Okay, now the next thing for Bitcoin is I'm going to show you the event line, I shouldn't just draw it just yet. But if you're going to draw an event line, I'll show you how to calculate. So if it happens and you enter weakness, make sure you draw your event line. It's not exactly the same angle. It's slightly inward. So it's almost this angle, and I'll show it to you live. It's an angle from here to here. So it's like slightly here. The event line, that's going to be your event angle. So your event line is going to be somewhere down here, which means you're probably only going to come to here and then bounce. So that means you have a chance to fade into weakness, get faked out, and then come back up a bit. So again, messiness. That matches what we see on USDT.D. So if we come into that weakness, look for that messiness and support. So it's going to look something like that when it's time. Okay, I'll give this a different color so you guys can see a possible event angle. Okay, but this is not on the board right now, so I'm going to delete it. Possible future event angle / line. Okay, and again, it's based on that area. Okay, so that line and that line is exactly the same, but not this one. Okay, so I'll put that for you guys so you know the game plan for Bitcoin if you guys are navigating Bitcoin when it happens. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up that other Bitcoin chart. And this one's on Binance. Or is it on index? Sorry. Okay, that one, index. All right, here we go. And this is where we have our 106K and 109K. So I'm still looking resistances in this range. And we measured the mid-phantom respect that we had, which is here, and that let us know that we should be looking for the distance on the bottom side. And this is why weeks ago we stressed the oscillation from here to here, and we stressed the all-time high. The reason we stressed this high, and I'm going to show you it again. First, let me pull up the image previously so I can show you. This is why I didn't look at the Bitcoin over the weekend, because I already knew what I was going to see. I already knew what I was going to see. We already identified this oscillation weeks ago, and here it is. Okay, look, you guys don't believe me? Here it is. Okay, look at this screenshot. May 7th. Okay, May 7th, I gave this to you. Okay, there's the date. There's May 7th. Previous. Okay, in May 7th, we identified the respect at this area on that line. Okay, but we also saw the disrespect. So all you have to do when you see that is take one side of the mid-phantom and you measure it. And we measured it with this pink line. We duplicate the measurement and we put it on the other side, and it came out here. Then we look for a verification if we got it. Here's our verification. It tells us that the distance is equal distance from here to here, which means that if we're not respecting the middle line, but we are respecting the middle line, is not expected to act like a resistance. In other words, it's only acted to act like maybe a step up area at the most. Price can use it to bounce on, if that, but it doesn't have to. It puts stresses on the boundaries, the top and the bottom. It tells us the oscillation is here. So we did this on May 7th. This was just this month. That means that we're looking at 106 to 107. With that, that's what it does. It tells us. So that's what I did for that class. I told you, hey, focus on May 7th. Sorry, focus on May 7th. Focus on 106 to 108. I drew this for you with my own hands. That's a crayon mark. Okay? So this is why we can use the mid-phantom as the clue what we're actually looking at. We were looking at a larger oscillation. Pull up the video. You guys will see it. I teach about this. So we put a lot of stress here at that area. Okay? Now, here we are in the future, and there we are. Okay? So I'm going to put more resistance here again at these areas, 106. Aren't you glad you guys are a part of this community? I'll help show you a lot of the major stuff that you need to be watching out for. I don't catch everything. I catch a lot of things in our community, okay, and I'm teaching you guys how to do it as well on our lessons page, type in lessons, and I hope those lessons are a benefit to you to get you started. One day when my manuscript is released, you guys will have a lot more hands-on tools in front of you all the time to use that. Okay, but right now, the stress is at the 106, 109. We got a wick match at 109. We got a little wiggle room within USDT.D, so you got room to play here. All right. Does anybody have any other questions regarding this? Before we add our targets. Okay. By the way, I got some resistances here, so I'm going to put a sword cut at this area, and then let's stretch it out to today. Okay. We're going to make that the sword cut color, orange. We're going to bring back the opacity because we know it's fresh. I'll put the prices 85,514 to 84,211. Okay, so that's 85,000 to 84,000. We're going to pay attention there. And the other thing we're going to do is add our targets. So I'm going to assume right now that from here to here, that's the bottom and top. We're going to use our second bottom out. In this case, since we have, make sure you guys add that. Since we have 3 bottoms, I'm just going to measure approximately from here to here. And then we're going to find where the targets are at. If they overlap here, most likely they're going to overlap. Then we're going to be looking for when price does come back down to bounce at 85. Okay, but right now we don't know where those targets are. So I'm going to draw them. That's about where we're going to measure. Okay, so if you're measuring, that's how I'm going to measure. Now let's measure. Fixed range volume profile. And there it is. All right. So we have, these are going to be our smaller targets. And there was one there. There's one here on this side, which is right about mid-phantom. And that's all we got. After that, there's just the outside boundaries. So right now, these are our only mid targets, and then here we got the bulk of the trading going on in this area. So I'm going to probably be looking at sword cut. I'm going to be looking at the 2 targets that we have, and that's all I'm really going to focus on. We'll use these targets as little stepping stones. 99,212 to $97,913 for the first target. For the second target, 92,790 to 91,394. And this is going to conclude all the information that I have currently for you guys regarding Bitcoin. So I'm going to be looking to come from these 2 areas. I'm going to be looking for either a health bounce there, or most likely at sword cut, which is probably going to be the biggest one. Questions going once, going twice. A bulk of the trading at sword cut. I'm going to be really focused on sword cut rather than these ones. These will be smaller, in my opinion. This is going to be the big one. Okay, that's where Bitcoin's most likely going to be trading at. Okay, after 106 to 109. Anyone questions else, please? Going once. Bitcoin going twice. Okay, I'll leave you with this video record. Make sure you take a screenshot. Okay, this is how we knew these were the upper boundaries based on what we do with our work with mid-phantom. Oh, this is our old maps. Let's go to our current one today. Not today. Okay, all right. Okay, we're going to look at some crypto. ATH. Let's look at it on MEX. Add that to the watch list, and there we go. Okay, I'm going to pull up a weekly chart for this one first. It looks like it's fairly new. Okay, we got flats going on here. So we're going to be looking at flats on the bottom side. Possibly we've got flats, I should say. Okay, flats on the bottom. If we get a close and we don't disrespect this, I'm going to be looking for us to come back up to these areas up there. the same way that we did Bitcoin. And the reason for that is because I believe these distances are the same. Top and bottom. Nope, they're not. Yep, they're not. Not yet. Okay. So let's fade one of these away until it comes into play. Let's look a little bit closely at this area here. I want to check something real quick. Wick core. Yeah, I'm going to be still a little bit bearish on this one on the weekly chart. These are going to be some lines I'm looking at. Okay, let's go to a smaller time frame and see what data we can extract. Also, let me look at the volume real quick. Strong volume on the down bars, or some of these down moves, or at least the down move, and then we move up into the right. So that might be a sign that this is being accumulated. Somebody's accumulating this, possibly. Let's go to the 2-day chart. Daily's a little messy. Okay, these angles are still intact here, so that's nice. Yeah, that's nice. So this might be a resistance area here. I might be looking for some pullback, and then we continue down towards 0.2. Current price is 0.472. So we might be coming back down to 0.219 if this is the resistances in these areas, which I wouldn't be surprised if it is. If it's being dumped in this area with the high volumes on the up bars, such as here and here, we may be coming down. It's a possibility it's going to hold on because the volume is still rather high at this challenge. So even if it is being dumped, they're doing a poor job of doing it because there's too much supply at the two relevant areas. We teach this in our micro volume class, micro volume VSA. It's in the bonus section of our lessons where I teach you how to read the volume areas together in the relevant areas. For example, as we come on the underside and challenge these areas here and here, I'm reading those two areas together. So these are actually increasing in volume from area 1 to area 2. That's increasing. So that means that even if it's being sold at the highs, even if it's being dumped, okay, then what's happening is they're doing a poor job. There's too much supply at these areas. If we continue to see the volume continuing to go higher, then what happens is we come back up to the upper side. It's less likely. It's very expensive for them to short it on the way down. Very expensive if they're losing the battle. This increase tells me who's winning. It's the sellers who are shorting in these areas are not winning. They are actually losing. There's too much supply being flooded at that area. Too many people willing to pay a higher price. So even if you're short selling it, you want to short sell it at a higher price, you better just wait until it's higher, then you can short it again. So that's if it was being dumped or sold or shorted. That's how that works. So right now, as it is, it's still reasons for it to be a little bit higher, which matches the season of USDT.D. Perfect match. So therefore, I'm going to be a little bit expecting it to play in these areas. Okay, so I want to be careful shorting this. I don't want to short it. It's not in an area of weakness. Even if I wanted to short it, the support line is going to be revealing weaknesses somewhere underneath here, and it's nowhere soon. We're not even close to there, right? So we got to wait to short this. Now, do we buy it? Let's look here. At the moment, I don't think we're going to be looking to buy it. Although I am going to draw some of the targets and sword cuts for some of you who are already in this. I'm going to draw something like that. Let's use the wick side, adjust the angle. Yeah, something like that. Okay, so let's draw our sword cut in the relevant area. It should be about right there. Make it orange, bring up the color, give you the prices, 0.31 cents. 0.031 to 0.029. Okay, good. Now let's draw some relevant targets for you guys, and I'll move on. In this example, because we have two highs, we're going to just use the farthest one out, and then we'll bring it to the bottom. And there's our target. This is going to be a little bit helpful. It's a thick one here. And oh, that's a good thing. That's a good sign for this crypto. If we get the close probably in the next, what do we got, 12 hours left? Yeah, 12 hours in this close. I'm going to say that price has a chance of being built on top. So if we can build on top of these targets, we can go and challenge that all-time high, which is where I'm expecting to get to. I'm giving you that range. Okay, let's give you the price, 0.090 to 0.082. So there's some money on the table potentially. Current price to here is 72%. However, I want to make sure I get the close above here. So I'm going to put a marker of health on here. Bring that color back in. If I can build above this range of prices, then I have a chance. So let me give you those price for the target, 0.048 to 0.047 to 0.041. Okay, so that means I want to be above 0.47 before I'm really getting serious about going up to 0.9. So before I'm really like, yeah, I'm going up to 8 or 9, I want to make sure I got some closes above there before I take it. So with the current USDT.D gives us a little bit more wiggle room. That means these might close into these areas. But if it doesn't and we just still stifle and we're still stifled in these areas, then that means the flats are going to be most likely coming back into play. So let me draw it for you and we'll move on. This is how I see it playing out. If we're stifled in here based on USDT.D, then I'm going to be looking for this one to come down back to those prices, 0.31, 0.29. All right, if USDT.D is actually giving us some buffer room, which is just a little bit of buffer room on USDT, this crypto has a strong chance of getting those closes in these areas. So say we get closes like this, that's going to be more on the bullish side. So therefore, I'm probably going to be leaning to be a little bit bullish this crypto. As it is, I've got to be real careful about this one. It's at decision making time. It's not clear. For my sake, I would leave it alone. If I'm in this, I want to probably hold out until the end of the week and watch how it matches up with USDT.D, and then see me trying to hold on for that more bullishness. But personally, because of this angle here hitting a few times already, I don't really expect it. Most likely you're just going to continue to get closes, no spectacular closes. You're just probably going to be still looking to get rejected here rather than pop up to the opposite side. I want to have some clear closes on this positive side if I'm going to be bullish. I don't want to just be in the area as denoted by the green circle. If it was me, we should lift that a little bit higher. I really want to make sure I'm solidly above this area. Otherwise, it's just too risky for me. I'm most likely going to pull back. Okay, so that's why I'm going to be leaning a little bit more bearish than I am bullish in this zone. Okay, so it'll look something like that. Okay. Anyone have any other questions for me on my take regarding this particular crypto? Okay. We have room to be a little bit bullish, but it could be fooling to us. It could be fooling. Still be bearish even if we're a little bit bullish. Okay. So if I'm getting a little bit higher prices, I'm still in the bearish area. Okay. I want to make sure I'm getting some solid closes. Yeah. I don't want to take too many risks with the crypto like this. Going once. Lydia, when should I farming it? It's a good time to sell. I'm farming it, waiting to sell token before unlock mid-June. When should I sell? You probably want to hold off at least for maybe 3 or 4 more days. Get some close. See the candles. If they're still rejecting here and they're not solidly closing higher, that's when I would be like, yeah, it's time. Because I'm going to match this with USDT.D season. And that's going to be most likely USDT.D is going to reverse. At the very least, it's at a take profit area. So normally I'd be looking to sell at these prices, 4.7 up to 4.9. That's where I'd be looking to sell if I was going to be selling. But if you get some solid closes above there, you have a chance to hit your 9 cents one more time. So maybe I'd sell some here and then maybe some at 9. But if I'm not getting that prices, I'm just going to get out completely, let USDT.D reverse if it reverses, which most likely it's going to, and then get back in closer to 3 cents. Yeah, 3 and 2.9 to 3.1. So yeah, somewhere around 3 to 2 cents. That's where I'm going to be looking to get back in, and then you can see what's going to happen from there. June is where I'm always a little bit leery of the markets, because I had a dream where at June 27th the market crashes. A few years ago I had a dream, so I'm always like, every time there's June 27th, I'm like looking at the markets like with suspicion. All right, so I had a dream. It'll be posted in the publicly on YouTube, so you guys will see that, and on our website. Okay, we're going to go to STG, Stargate crypto. Okay, I think this is Lisa's. Lisa, is this a Stargate one or the stock?
Stargate Finance.
Okay.
It just partnered up with XDC, and it's
Really?
got a pretty big utility. So I'm going to post it in the chat for if anyone wants to read what's happening. But it's not really on the radar. So I think hopefully it's the chart's gonna look good.
Okay.
But I think we need to keep this one in mind for the future.
Okay. Okay. For this crypto, we probably want to use a 2-week chart. Yeah, we probably want to use a 2-week chart for this one. Okay, Lisa posted some things in the chat regarding this chart. Let's go ahead and draw some things that we see in here. I'm going to look for a wick match to find the range. And I got a wick match somewhere about right there. So my range for this currently is going to be, and you can do something called rotated rectangle if you guys want to. I don't generally like to do it, but because I don't like how they design the rectangle in TradingView. Where's it at? It's under geometric shapes. Rotated rectangle. So if I draw a rectangle and I take one corner, it can't just it changes all the corners, and then I take the middle line and I can move it around, but it's a little wonky for my taste. I want to sometimes just make one side bigger without the other side getting bigger, so I have control over that, and that's not something that you can do. So if I got the angle right, that's nice. And I just say I want to make this one fill that rectangle space. Now I'm made the bottom a little bigger, so you have to make it how you think it's going to be, and then move it back into position, keep moving it in position. So like you can see, it's still bigger, so shrink it a little bit more. And you have to fiddle with it more than you should. So TradingView, if you're watching, fix it. Okay, so somewhere about right there. Okay, so I'm going to be looking at that range, and then let me slow it down. Okay, I'll put some prices on here for this resistance. This is going to be probably an important resistance. 38 cents to 43 cents. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw I'm going to look for the volume here. If there's pushing, I'm going to draw the sword cut. No big pushing volume there. The volume is on the up bar, so not so concerned about that. Here's a good example. I don't really have time to teach this, but if there was we were talking about earlier the micro volume analysis, we can see that the supply was starting to be absorbed. That's a good sign right here, the first one. But you can see that from the second time around, there was it's our decrease. The second time around, there was a strong increase in volume from point 2 to 3. So here's 1, here's 2, here's 3. 1, 2, 3, they match. From 2 to 3, we see a strong increase in this level, which means it's very expensive. They did not draw the floating supply, even if it was being bought. in these areas. The supply is too much. What's going to happen at these areas is you're still going to be paying attention to that area in the future. So we're going to put this on your map. You're going to want to pay attention to 65 cents. So sometime in the future, look for 65 cents to give us some resistance or another important piece of information. So that's going to be a good example of something to look forward to, 65 cents. So we'll put that on the board. Backgrounds and supply increase, watch 65 cents. Watch 0.65 cents in the future. Okay. All right, let's move this off to the side. We don't need this anytime soon. Okay, let's now go to back to our drawing. Let's now zoom in. We can now zoom in and see some things. Oh, let's take the key angle and see if it matches on the bottom side. It's not going to match. Well, it is going to match here as a reverberation, but then we start disrespecting the line here. So it's possible we're actually dealing with a much larger angle. Let me double check on the monthly. Nope, the monthly's still holding. Okay, so this could be a bottom. If it doesn't, we would want to look at the adjacent down here, or we would want to look at the DP. In either case, I will draw the DP from the conservative side, measuring it, and that means, and I will label this for you. If things go really south, I might be looking therefore at 7 cents, 0.7 cents. DP. Phantom still holding on monthly chart. Okay. All right. Center. Let's stretch this out a bit. Okay. Good. And then let me get you the bottom for this DP, and that's right now currently the bottom is at 17 cents. Current price is 22 cents. So we're seeing that price is still holding on the monthly chart. So let's now we're going to zoom back in. So we are at a bottom. We are looking to possibly round up, move up. Let's go to a 2-day and then a daily chart. From here, let's make sure that we bring in up maybe the recent sword cut. That's going to be relevant. Maybe it's going to be about here. I want to put a sword cut somewhere in that area, about where the break is, somewhere about right there. Let's put the prices on there, 0.33 cents, 33.7 to 0.323. A little of 33 to 32 cents, a big range. Maybe not so big. All right, so now let's do target system and see if any of those overlap. And we overlap in these areas, which is great. There's our target. It's somewhere about right here, so it's very close to sword cut. So since it's on the underside of sword cut, I'm going to be actually looking to be a little bit conservative. So I'll be paying attention to 32 cents. I also have a target just a slightly lower, which we can use for price to build or even get in trouble, and that's where price is at currently right now. All right, now we also had some previous resistance here in the future. I'm going to look right now. Has this been a little bit bearish area? I'm sorry, a little bit of resistance with USD.D possibly reversing to the bad side or to bring the markets down, and this being at a resistance. I'm going to say that this is not a proper area to buy. This could probably get me in trouble. Okay, because we're at a top. We're maybe not the top, but it's at a top. So I want to be real careful with this one. Okay, that's how I'm going to be. If USDT.D still plays a little more and we start getting a little bit higher, then and USDT.D is pressing lower, if it does, which I'm thinking only for a few days, then I may have a chance to hit these targets. But apart from that, it looks like it's going to reverse over the next weeks. So therefore, I don't feel super confident entering when this is at a top as it is. The other thing is, there is a support where price is sitting on, and it's going to be somewhere about here. So I'll draw it for you. Somewhere maybe about right there. So this is a semi-messy area for price. So I'm probably going to be looking for it to come down, then come back up and trying to hit some of these targets a little more properly. So in conclusion, I will draw it like this. This is how I see the game possibly happening. Most likely we're going to come back down, get some of these prices. They're what, 17 cents? So 17 to 19, so we're going to say about 18 cents. And then we have a chance to properly hit these areas. I'm going to be a little bit thinking 32 to 31 cents. So that's where I'm going to be looking at, 32 to 31 cents, somewhere in between. There's room for lots of these spikes, right? So we got lots of spikes in the past, which we know as wicks. So that's easily that we can hit the target and spike to this side. So I'm going to be a little bit conservative on the sword cut and a little bit liberal on the target because they're close together. About right there is where I'm looking. Okay. Does anybody have any other questions about how I feel regarding where this is going to move? And I'll put the health here, and I'll put this resistance here. So that's where I would be looking to go to. So if I'm going to enter, I want to pay a good price. Then I want to see it build above here and take those two trades in kind. So those are the two territories I see it moving. Okay, if I'm down here, I'll be looking to possibly hit the target. But I want to compare this again with USDT.D. And if USDT.D reverses, then I'm going to be possibly not looking for this to do well. And I'm going to have to assess the situation once we're here or even in a bearish area. Okay, so right now for me, I would leave this alone. Okay, I would leave this alone if it's me. So you're watching my video commentary with USDT.D. For right now, I want to make sure USDT clears, the dust settles, so we'll see what's going to happen next. I have a strong opinion we're going to reverse for a short time, and that means that some of these cryptos are going to pull back from their resistances of where they're at. And since this one's already at a target, I don't think we're going to clear all that room right now. Okay, all right. So the question I got in the chat was, can 20 to 22nd be a down and FOMO towards the end of the month? Let's see, what's today? Today's the 14th. I'm probably not going to be super bearish past a week. So right now I want you guys to all see my USDT.D video. It's going to be posted. If you missed it, show it, because I watch it. It's my forecast, basically my game plan. That's what I wrote, a JSON's crypto game plan. I showed you in that dream, in that area, that I'm thinking we're going to be needing to take profits. Things will be slightly bullish, but messy. So if you see bullishness, for me, I think it's possibly a fake out. I want to have some clear bullishness in the market. So that means that chart is going to be looking slightly going down, but not much. We're actually reversing. I believe that's what's actually going to be happening. I think we're going to reverse. But the reverse is not enough for me to want to short. It's enough for me to want to take profit, but not enough for me to want to short. Bitcoin may phase through its weaknesses, so I've got about a 2-week window for this forecast to happen. So it's possible that the 20th to 22nd iPad can be a down month or down days. Watch the video, see how I'm viewing it. Basically, I want to be careful shorting long term or anything really longer, like big stretches. There's just a slight pullback. So for me, I'm more going to be looking at taking profit and then coming back in the market, possibly. So that video will explain that. And then if you guys missed my dream, I want you guys to see the word room today, and I put my dream up in the video. I just got back yesterday from traveling, but I had a dream just now before the word room while I was preaching an important message to a depraved church. And this is a church I was once sent to prophesy to years ago. From time to time, I'll see the pastor or his family members or his wife, and they will come to me and they'll try to convince me that the state of the affairs of the church is different than it actually is. And then I'll see them appear in my dream. One time in real life, I was at a mall, and they came to me and they shook me. And they said, see, the Holy Spirit never left us. The Holy Spirit never left us. And I'm going like this, like, oh, like, lady, you don't have to convince me. You have to convince the Lord. And I got witnesses. Not only did the Lord tell me, but from time to time, I've seen the situation has not changed with first-hand account. And the minister inside of me grieves at that. Because it was a church I once loved. But there's also correlations between some of the things that are happening in the church that are going to happen on a big scale. And the wealth transfer has something to do with it. Not so long ago, the Lord revealed to me something that's going to happen. You're going to see this, so I will now tell you. You're going to see the church pastors turn to money again, like the prosperity gospel stuff that was happening. You're going to see the message get twisted as they want some of the people who are part of the wealth transfer to start going to their church. And it's going to compromise the message. You're going to see pastors begin to tickle the ears of the people. As the Bible says, in the last days they would heap up to themselves leaders who would give them what their itching ears want to hear. And there's going to be a lot of church leaders, including pastors, that are not going to be able to resist the temptation to alter their message to cater to the rich people on purpose. And some by accident, but most of them by accident, I should say. And you're going to see that they're going to just start changing the message. They're going to be afraid to offend rich people because they don't want them to leave the church. So they will be stifled in what they're going to preach or what they're going to say. And this happened in real life. And the Lord brought me to the forefront of that by calling me to prophesy to one such church. And like I said, from time to time I see that pastor come to me in a dream trying to convince me otherwise. And I listen with an open eye, but then the Lord shows me the state of the affairs in the dream. But then in real life, he'll bring people to me who've either gone or new people, old people, and the report I'm hearing is things have never changed. So the church ends up becoming under judgment. And so last night when I dreamed and I preached at that church, the thing that I preached and confirmation what was happening about the pastor's mouth and stuff, it's something that's going to happen. I believe it's not just about that church. For me personally, I believe that church is in a state of reprobate mind, and the Lord has indeed brought a judgment to that church. And I cannot say out loud, but there is a judgment that happened to that church, and that is happening. And unless the church repents, I don't know if things are going to change. But the reason I see this is so that we can see how it's going to happen on a large scale once again. And the Lord has told me that I'm going to be soon prophesying about this matter publicly on YouTube. The same way I prophesied at the crypto conference about certain matters, I'm going to be prophesying about this specifically. Because some of you may be going to churches like this. And also, I've determined that I'm going to spend a lot of my time pouring into your character. So all of you in Dive, I want you guys to know that as a minister, you're going to get to a point when you have a lot of money. All of you guys will have a lot of money. Dinar, wealth transfer, numbers hitting prophetically, just being in the community. But the wealth transfer is a process. We see this in the very first book of Genesis, at the book of Exodus, that they left, but then we see into Leviticus, Deuteronomy, the story of what continues. Not all of them got the gold, but not all of them got to keep the gold. And that's the sum of the entire message. Many of you guys will enter wealth transfer, but you will not be able to keep the wealth transfer or even enjoy the wealth. The Bible tells us he makes one rich and adds no sorrow to it. But some of you will be made rich and you'll have lots of sorrow added to it, and it will corrupt you. And that's because it's not the true wealth. The true wealth comes from your relationship with Christ. So my job is, and because I know that once you get to a certain level, it's very hard for you to listen to anybody. Many people stop listening to people once they have a status of money. They believe the amount of money they have equals their character, but it doesn't. Your character can actually be corrupted or twisted or changed or perverted, whether you're in ministry, you're a servant of the Lord. A lot of them, they all started off with, yay, Moses, yay, God. But over time, they change and they switch. Even Miriam and Aaron, Moses' own brother and sister, got to a point where their titles became them, and God had to humble them. He had to humble Aaron. He had to humble Miriam. They thought, we deserve to be up there. And when you get money, you start thinking, I deserve. And you become entitled, and it changes you. And it changes those around you. The Bible tells us wealth maketh many friends. But it doesn't say that those friends are genuine. It just attracts a lot of people to you. So my idea that I've had this past few years is to invest more in your character so that you're ready when it happens. So that you're at a point where you're right with God, with the character that you have to maintain what's going to happen. And I can't control what's going to happen after you get money. I'm not that here for that. I'm going to play I'm actually going behind the scenes when that happens. Most of my public stuff is actually now, and then when I come back in the public, it's for different reasons. So some of you guys are going to see me play a very different role in my life, and you guys will play different roles in your lives or the lives of each other. And I want you to be ready with that character. So right now is the time to focus on the things of God before we get the wealth. Right now is your time to be built in the valley, to be built in the wilderness. Moses' character before he became the leader was shaped in his time being a shepherd, taking care of sheep, on his time on the run from Pharaoh, on the times when nobody believed in him. Those are the times when God shapes your character. That's what I want for you. I want you guys to have these moments with God getting real about what life is going to look like when you're wealth, because it can ruin you. It could ruin your family members. It could destroy them. It could destroy you. We're dealing with something so dangerous, and there's a reverence you have to it. As for me, I see a very great fallacy going to happen in the church, and I'm going to begin to talk about it soon as the Lord showed me what's on the horizon. And there's a lot of them that are not being trained the same way you guys are in wealth transfer communities. And I don't mean the training I'm giving you or the teachings that I've been doing in WordRoom or my role in your life, although that might be part of it. I'm actually talking about all the things that God has been shaping your character to become. God is leading you and building you in the secret place, your prayer closet, all of these things. And I want you guys to be molded by Him. I want you to take as much as you can now, because the times are coming, and please, I'm prophesying. Mark my words. I'm going to say this. I don't want you to ever forget it. Write it down if you have to. This is what I'm about to say is going to shock you. You ready? You ready? The times are coming when your own pastors will lie to your face. Local church, online church, don't matter. I hope I don't lie to your face. I don't believe I'm going to. I'm telling you before it happens. How? Why would they lie to me? I'll give you a scripture that comes to mind. James chapter 2. My brothers, show no partiality as you hold the faith of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Lord of glory. For if a man wearing a gold ring and fine clothes comes into your assembly, and a poor man in shabby clothing also comes in, and if you pay attention to the one who wears the fine clothing and say, you sit here in a good place, while you say to the poor man, you sit over there, or sit down at my feet, have you not then made distinctions among yourselves and become judges with evil thoughts? Listen, my beloved brothers, has not God not chosen those who are poor of this world to be rich in faith and heirs of the kingdom, which He has promised to those who love Him? But you have dishonored the poor man. Are not the rich ones the ones who oppress you, who will drag you into court? Are not they not the ones that blaspheme honorable name by which you were called? If you really will fulfill the royal law according to Scripture, you shall love your neighbor as yourself, you are doing well. But if you show partiality, you are committing sin and convicted by the law as transgressors. there's a partiality that's going to come in the church. And I want you to know they're going to roll out the red carpet for you. I've seen it. I've seen it a lot of times. I've seen them roll out the red carpet for those who have wealth. You will have wealth. You're going to get the red carpet thrown out. I'm not saying don't walk on it if it gets rolled out, but you need to know when it's happening. You have to recognize it. Otherwise, you're going to flatter yourself. You're going to think more highly than yourself. You're going to be tempted to walk over people. You're going to be not tempted to take off your proverbial robe, as it were. So you're not real with people anymore. You won't be able to get down at those levels. You won't even look people in the eye anymore. It'll affect how you love. And it will affect the twist of you. It'll cause some of these leaders and pastors and teachers who want your success or want the success you have because they think you're something because God gave you wealth. They're going to think, oh, wow, I want to be like you. And if your character's not there, you can destroy them. You won't be able to smell the greed all over their faces. They'll lie to you and hide that greed, some of them. And some of them will actually begin to tickle your ear just to get what they want or just to get you not to leave. And they won't preach to you the truth. They will begin to lie to your face. They'll begin to lie in their message. And you will no longer be building because they want to coddle to you. They don't want to offend you. They don't want to tell you the truth. It's going to be hard for the pastor or the leader who's in love with the money or in love with your success to be able to tell you the truth. I'm telling you this now before you're the millionaires and billionaires. That's what I have to say. Let's go into cryptocurrencies. We'll finish up and we'll continue. Later on, I want you guys to watch the dream and see what I have to say about the dream. Okay. Let's go.
Are you recording?
Yes, I am.
Oh, okay.
Let's go back to cryptocurrencies. We're going to go to ETN. That video will be posted for the dream within 24 hours. Okay, so if you guys missed it and the USDT.D game plan, you'll watch it. Okay, here's ETN. All right, we're looking at some supports on ETN, old flats. We identified these last time, 016, 0013. We're going to take a look again. We are been in a downtrend. Price has not really been able to build on these sword cuts for very long. When we first entered into health back in December of 2023, just a bounce, we move up, come back down, we bounce, move again, but then we start building and disrespecting the sword cuts, so the sword cuts lost their power. And then something we're looking at was this angle here. Now this angle says monthly, so let's pull up a monthly line to see what we're talking about. Okay. So this is ETN on a monthly chart. We can see an angle such like this, okay? And that's going to put ETN on the underside of this angle. If this is high volume, that's even worse. And right now, it's not so bad at the moment, okay? Not so bad. But right now, this is not a good spot for us to really be here in this area. So that's going to be something I'm paying attention to. We're still in a larger downtrend over time. This might be a good spot to take profits, as that's my theme for today. Based on the USDT.D season, I believe we are at a time when you guys need to be thinking about taking profits. This is the area I told you guys we're getting to, 4.5% area. All those supports right there, it's more likely going to reverse. Now, I don't believe we're going to reverse so long, but we don't want to lose the profits that we knew about in the bullish season of USDT.D. We were under that area. We had lots of days to get ready. I said get ready. They were in a bullish position, a bullish to here. And we went there, the first target, then I said we're bullish to here. Then we went to the next target, and that's it. So I think if we're about due for a pullback, so I said today I want you to look for cryptos that are at targets, not so much to short, but just to get out of some of those cryptos, okay? I don't think there's much room to short. ETN is a such thing. So if you're an ETN, I probably want to be looking to take profits here in these areas, okay? So I want to be looking to take profits. So if you're writing notes, take profits, okay? This is never financial investment or trade advice or any kind, but this is where I want to, okay? So I'll just kind of say it like that. How about that? I want to take profits there. I want to be looking here for things to reverse. Now, if you look at this from a logical perspective, we got the support and we're on the underside. So we're mostly looking for this to come back down. So all that gains that we made, we're probably going to lose them. This is what I wrote on a larger time frame. ETN March 3rd. It's not in a good spot. It's beginning to build under the weakness under the vortex area, revealing even if there is please see today's video. Even if there's buying, the market's revealing these prices can be obtained lower based on the structure. These types of structures is where supply is likely to come flooding. In my opinion, look for lower ETN. I meant to put right now closer towards 0.0018 to 0016. So it looks like we hit that already. When did I write that? March 3rd. Should have. Yeah, 0016. We hit that. So we hit that target. This is complete. So I'm going to put the word complete. May 13th, 2025. May 14th. Okay. So I'm going to now show you. Let's look at one of my old charts. Savior, you're my God. Okay, so here's our previous chart. Previous May, what was this? March. Back in March. I'll just say March 1st. Okay. I don't know the exact date, but somewhere around March 1st. Okay. And we know we are looking to come to these prices. So now we're there. So this is now complete. Okay. So this is back in time. This is an old chart. Okay. So you guys got it? Now we're here. Okay. So this is what we're looking at. Now we bounce up here. It's a small bounce. I'm not looking to stay up there very long. Okay, I'm looking to come down. To facilitate this, what we're gonna do, I'm gonna clear up some of this map, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna look at these targets. Okay, we're gonna clear up some of these old stuff, and we're going to now look at the targets based on this previous segment. To do, let's go to maybe a 2-day chart. Yep. Okay. And I'm going to measure from the top to the bottom, and it's going to give me these targets. If one of the targets happens to be right about here, we're going to view that as a vortex. That means like other teachers would use the words like confluence of events, or they'll use something like the word confluence. Okay. So let's now clear up some of these areas. And I hope these maps are helping you guys navigate cryptocurrencies. I sure do hope that these maps are helping. Okay. Because I put a lot of calculation in some of these angles and things like that. All right. Let's bring up those, and we're going to now take our measurement tool, bring it down to there, and there we are. All right. So our first target is going to be somewhere right here, and the price is 0.0027 to 0.0026, and then the next target is going to be down here, from here to here. So that's actually not exactly on the line, and that's okay. All right, that target's going to be 0.0021. Oops, sorry, 0.020 to 0.0018. So 0.020 to 0.0018. So that's a little bit higher than our current target. So therefore, we want to hold on, and it'll look something like this. So we want to look to see if we get those closes, we have a chance to hit this other target, while USDT.D has this messy area because it can reverse over 2 or 3 weeks. It has a little messy area. This one, you probably want to hold on a little bit longer maybe to hit the probably conservatively 2.6. I'm not going to be super bullish right now. I'm not super bullish in the market, but if you want to hold on a little bit longer to see if you get those closes, you may get them. Okay, here's 11 hours left in today's session. 11 hours and 9 minutes. Okay, 11 hours. All right. I think that's all I really want to share with this one. I'm going to be looking for this to either spike up here, then we're going to come back down, especially with USDT.D. possibly in a reverse position. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust our straight, which is going to collect these 3 points up here, and that's going to give me 1, 2, 3 in our foundational area, and from there that's what we're going to look at. Okay, right now that's going to give me more confirmation that we're probably going to get a close and then be able to clear that last territory. After that, I'm not going to be looking to be super bullish at the moment, but that's going to be something. So again, this is a health if we get the close, and we have a chance to get out at around 2.6 to be conservative, and after that's about where I'm going to be. Okay, I don't know if we're going to get up to 3, but 3.8 or 4.6, those will come down as time moves on. Draw the angles. That's why I give you guys the angles, so you guys can draw them rather than just rely only on my chart. You can actually draw the angle yourself. Okay, anyone else have any other comments regarding this? Thanks. Okay, all right, going once for Etienne, going twice. My opinion, you want to take profits soon, if not now. These are good prices. Will we hit there? I don't know. I want to be taking profits already anyway, but if you're locally trading, the 2 targets. Okay, so let's look at Volt. Okay, if you want to know what's on the menu on the board, that was on the menu for today. We had some very great conversations. The dream from our WordRoom session, and then our crypto game plan. Here's a look at Volt. We've been measuring a lot of things. I mean, we measured back and forth some of these stronger oscillations. We measured the leveled out parabolic back here. We measured this one down here. And they seem to level out in these areas. Now, this is a weekly chart, and it looks like I'm a little bit under. To confirm if I'm really under, I want to pull up a monthly chart or even a 2-week chart to see if my cores are still really here. This is part of the core cluster lesson. So if you type in lessons on our lessons page, you're going to look for the one that says core cluster or CC, and that's going to help you know a technique about how to understand which is the important area I need to be focused on. So let's go to a 2-week chart, and this is again, look at confirmation. So I'm going to show you that again in real life, in slow motion. All right, on the weekly chart, if I draw a flat here in this area, which I did, I'm left with a blue line, okay, that's somewhere here, right there, okay? And you can say, oh, look at where prices, we're getting closes underneath here, and that could be a sign of bearishness. But if I go to increase the time frame to one level higher, you can actually see that I still closed in a relative healthy area. So is this really super strong weakness if this close on just the very next higher time frame is still in that area? No, it's a healthier area. It's still part of the healthier area. So on a weekly chart, you'll see it, but if you're too zoomed in, you're going to miss it. And I thought about that earlier. I think Lisa had a question about a certain crypto, and I was saying the same principle. If you're still seeing the higher time frames matching the health, you got to be careful about the smaller areas, even if there's messiness on them. So this would still be looking to be bullish in this area, and that's how we can use the core cluster technique to give us the right areas. Now with this, let's go back down, and we're going to try to find something more local. Here on the 2-day chart, we can see that we were looking for some health to appear approximately above this track based on this parabolic, which is this area. And this parabolic was, I believe, based on our gesture technique. Okay, so there was our gestured line, and this is going to be the top area, and it's going to show us where the resistance was, and we hit it again on April 23rd, then we hit it again on May 3rd, and finally we broke out on the week of May 7th. We got our first close above that line on May 7th, and then May 9th we went up here, and where did we go? We went exactly to our target. So this is another example of a crypto that's at a high or at a target. So if we're trading the bullishness in here based on the supports, based on the health, based on the parabolic breakout, based on price being above and getting closes above those targets, we trade from target to target. This would be a complete move. So there's one more target above here, but I don't have any signal that I'm now in another health and I'm able to take the next trade. The next trade would be above there. So I don't want to take any trades right now. As I said, USDT.D, we're going to be looking today at cryptos that hit their target. I don't have to know the future. I just really need to know this single chart, USDT.D. If I know what's happening on that chart, I know what's happening in the crypto market. But if I had already didn't even need to see that chart today, I hadn't even looked at it all weekend because I already knew what was going to happen because of the notifications. When I was seeing cryptos on getting notifications for my targets getting hit, I already knew USD.D was at 4.5%. And sure enough, when I showed up today to ChartRoom, I pulled up USDT.D, boom, we hit exactly where we're supposed to. So that means that these cryptos we're looking for them to be at targets, and then we want to take profits of the ones that are at target, and we want to not exactly short, but we want to exit. So not every exit is a short, and not every short's an exit. So that means that if price is on the way down and we're shorting, just because we exit a short or close out a short doesn't mean we want to accumulate that crypto. Even though when you buy, you close out your transaction, you don't want to get in the opposite direction. Let me give you a silly example. Relationships. If I get out of a bad relationship with somebody, it doesn't mean I just immediately enter a good relationship into someone else. They both could be bad. Sometimes you just need to get out of the relationship. It has nothing to do with someone else. Okay? But if you confuse those two ideas, you're putting two things that don't belong together. And they call that in relationship and in dating, they call it a rebound, right? You're vulnerable when you're in a rebound. In the past, I've gotten into a relationship with a girl that was probably somebody I probably shouldn't have been with. But because I was feeling overcome by my own emotions at that time, and maybe in those years I was lonely, maybe that I just wanted to be with somebody. So I was like, oh, I was just hurt from the previous relationship, and this person seems to be nice. So you just rush into the next relationship. As silly as that sounds, it happens with human emotions, and human emotions happens quite a bit in the markets. In the market, sometimes we are at a time of extreme elation or extreme loss. So we jump from trade to trade, and we're like, oh, I better get out. And then instead of just getting out, they short as well. Or it happens a lot in the Forex where, are we going up today? Reverse positions, and then you get shaken out. And that's what happens with relationships. We get so worn out because we were the ones that weren't in control of our own emotions, our own self. So we jump from relationship to relationship, and then when life wears us out and God's looking at us like, what the heck are you guys doing? Then it's ourselves to blame. This happens in trading as well. You jump from trade to trade, but just because you get out of one trade doesn't mean to take the opposite position. Sometimes it just means leave the trade alone. Get out of that trade. And that's how that's how you can control yourself. All right, question. What if we are still losing money if we sell at a target? Do we still exit and hope that get back in later? If you exit at a target, if you have reason to exit at the target, treat it as a loss, like a business expense. If you're the ways when we reverse positions, it's because we're often afraid of losing, so we want to gain back any potential recoveries. But remember, we could easily take profit, and then price will come to the positive side and then go further. But for us in ChartRoom, we just view that or in trading, we should often view that as two separate transactions. A transaction from here to here, and then let someone else take the risk of crossing over the boundaries. So we need to let somebody else take that risk. We need to make sure that we're not just rushing into the next relationship, because we could easily just go as down. We can't predict the future. We just know where we're going to be looking to predict the future. Okay, based on the map, we know that once we're here, we're most likely looking to get here or here. Okay, if we're being conservative, it's the conservative side. In this case, price hit the conservative side. We can't predict anything else. So right now, I need to treat that as a business expense. Even if I was in a shorting position, I'm lost. I'm like, ooh, I better get out if I have reason to get out. Now, if you want to play this based on the actual question, should we exit our losing position? Right now, I'm going to give you a very specific answer. Okay, so I think this question comes from Lydia. So Lydia, please pay attention to what I'm about to say. Based on our findings today on USDT.D, okay, and I'm going to show it to you real quick again. I'm not going to do a full video explanation. You were here earlier. Okay. USDT.D is very likely to reverse. So in this particular example, although not every time, since USD has hit it, we are likely to reverse. However, this is there's a strong chance we're going to enter a delayed territory, and you're going to see this charts come down just a little bit to 4.45 or even 4.32. Okay, if that happens, a crypto like this crypto that you're looking at today is going to be somewhere on the high side, and if you're in a short, you're going to lose more money as this goes up. Now, I'm not saying we're going to get into the bullish side up here and start clearing our way all the way to the top. I'm not saying that, but it's more likely this is going to reverse. So if it's me, I'm going to say if I'm in a leverage position on Volt and a leverage short, and I'm betting Volt go down, then, which I don't want to be, I don't think I'd be in that position. But if I was, and I'm losing money the higher this goes, then what I would do is I would hold out for it to come back, but only in this scenario because of the evidence I have. Okay, if this reverses, this is most likely going to reverse as well, come back down. So I won't always do that, but I would today for this crypto. Okay, so that's going to answer the question. So if you guys are in a crypto that is in a losing position, there is a chance, if you can survive the next few weeks, the next 2 weeks, or even probably the next week is most likely where it's going to happen. If you can survive the next week and a half, most likely you're going to see cryptos come back down from their position. So if you're in a shorting position and you should have been in a bullish position, then I would say for me, I'm probably going to hold back and let some of these pull back. Okay, especially if this is spiking in resistance against the conservative area, I'm most likely going to see Volt come back down. Okay, does that answer your question? Does that answer your questions about this? Okay, anyone who's in shorting positions, you're probably going to see some of your cryptos come back. Okay, anyone who's in a bull's position, you want to be here. Now, I'm not telling you to short. I'd have to have reason to short this if it was me. But if I'm looking for a pullback, I'm most likely going to get it, in my opinion. If I was going to short it, I want to short it in a period of weakness, maybe like down here. I don't care to short here unless maybe it's something like that has real evidence to do. Okay? I would rather short this underneath in a real area of weakness. Okay, not in an area of strength or health like Volt. Volt is in an area where we're most likely going to eventually continue going higher. Okay, even though if we pull back, I'm actually going to be looking more for entries. Does that help? Did I make that clear? Don't feel bad if you need more clarification. Going once. Going twice. The theme for the day is taking profits. We're going to look at Brett. Okay, you're welcome. I want everybody to at least stack some odds in their favor. You guys don't always have to follow my analysis. I don't care. I don't guys monitor you guys' trade. You guys do what you want. But I'm going to try to give you my map as best I see some of the problematic areas, some of the opportunities, and so forth and so on. Like, we've been right about a lot of these maps. Bitcoin, watch my Bitcoin. If you guys missed it, watch my Bitcoin today. It's powerful, powerful. Okay, I show you guys the previous maps and I show you our current maps. So letting you guys know where we're at. Okay, Brett entered into a healthy position approximately here at the sword cut range. The sword cut range is denoted, we denoted it by this area from here to here. Okay, we had some reasons why we did that. And the range for this is going to be about approximately here. When we broke out, this is when it's a prime time to draw it. So at the range where you break out, that's where you want to cover that candle range and then stretch it out. So this is approximately here for the sword cut. So you can see price came down to the conservative area for the sword cut. The average for that sword cut was about 4.8. Okay, so the low side 4.4 and 4.044 to 0.50. That's going to be about where that sword cut was for us. And you guys have that in our sword cut lessons. You guys can draw these for your maps. Our targets were here at 0.9069, and the next target, you almost got there, 10 to 0.96. Are we going to get it? Probably. We're probably going to get it. We're sitting on top of the most recent target, So that's actually a good thing. We're sitting on this old flat, everything. So I think we're going to get, with a few more days left of USDT.D pushing into the messy area, most likely this is going to push up one more time to cover just the ground. And therefore, we're going to most likely have a chance to hit that 9.6, in my opinion. Right now, the current price is 0.77. And we're definitely not in a weakness area just yet. A straight could be something like this, although based on some of this curvature, we're most likely going to end up drawing something like this over time. So I'll give it to you right now in advance, but it's going to be something like this. Okay. Now, with a curvature like this, the giveaways that we know to draw those is this. So I'll hide my lines and I'll show you what I'm doing. When we look at an area that is moving up, we always want to pay attention to the foundational area. Okay, so this is going to be known as the foundational area. We teach this in lessons 1, 2, and 3. Foundational area. You guys have heard me talk about this quite a bit. It's this area here, and I like to see what the shapes that it gives me. In this case, it's going to give me that type of shape, right? So when we know that type of shape, I like to try to draw that curvature and see if I can connect a third point by just extending it out. And in this case, you can actually see that if we extend it out, we're going to get that third point right there. So that's a little bit like a verification, and that's going to complete our 3 points for that we need for a parabolic curve. Okay. Parabolic curve. And that parabolic curve, we can use that curve to duplicate over time and bring it to the top side. So if I bring it straight up in the air, not left or right, but let me see if I can do it straight up in the air. Almost about. And that's not a right one. Let's go, let's just draw the whole thing. Yeah, there we go. Duplicate. Okay, if I'm bringing this straight up in the air to the high side, I can start seeing where the resistances should be. So there should be some resistances here in this area, which there is, and no health needs to be above there. So right now, a breakout could be somewhere above these areas, and we can start looking to go higher. And until then, we are really at a top. So this is another one of those cryptos where we want to be looking to take profit. So for Brett, we might want to be looking to get out somewhere around these prices as we currently are at this resistance, or close to the resistance. Are we going to get one more chance at here? Possibly. Let's now do this a little bit more professionally now that I have a curve. So let's take this curve, and this is our standard parabolic formula. So I'm going to move it to the top side right here. And since we already have a top, let's see if we can adjust it for the wick side, which is just right there. Okay, so let's make sure that these are lined up here. This can move a little bit to the, this needs to be straight up and down. Yeah, right there. See how they kind of line up? And then let's make sure it's locked in for the wick. And there it is. So now there's our top, and it's very accurate, okay? So where's our resistance? Now we have a vortex where these prices are coming together on the conservative side at 9.6. So current price, 0.71, we'd probably be looking to get out at 0.96 with USD pushing up for the rest of the week into this area where there's not really anything new. We're just hitting targets. Look for all these cryptos to continue hitting targets, but don't look for them to do much more than hit the current target where they're at and not really go any higher. As we talked about earlier in USDT.D, take your profits. So we're going to be looking for there. So I'm going to put a little star at that price zone so you guys can see what I'm talking about. That's where we're going to be looking to exit. Otherwise, just exit right now. But with USDT.D playing in the zones where we're currently at, that's going to be these cryptos hitting, not really going any farther than they have and not really doing anything new. Okay. So there it is. Any other questions for Brett? Brett going once. Brett going twice. Okay. Other than that, we'll start looking for this one to do something here. This is old since November. Longer term bullish. Okay. Yep. We're going to reassess Brett again after we hit this. If you guys want to, set an alarm. Set an alarm somewhere around that price. I'm going to set my alarm. I'll fade this line away. And I'm just going to set an alarm on that price. Message, Brett hitting target. Remember to take profit. Remember to take profit. Okay. All right. Take your screenshots for this one. and then I'll be posting these after the class. You guys will be able to go through my work. Oh, did I do a lot of charts today, didn't I? Okay, so take that screenshot. Oh no, that was Volt. Yeah, that one. Okay. Otherwise, that's a better zoomed in. Got it? All right. Questions going once for Brett. Questions going twice. All right, today's my early day. I'm going to be with you just for one more crypto, and then I'll be out. So if you guys have questions, go ahead and ask me now. The last crypto for today is this crypto called INJ. Let's look on Binance. Okay, I'm going to look at our targets in two ways. I'm going to measure the bottoms, and then I'm going to come measure this smaller segment. So I'm going to measure this larger segment first. So let's do that. Okay, the first thing I'm looking for is respect for the target as they bring them into play. And I only see the first resistance here for this target. After this, some respect here, and then some disrespect here. So these targets are being penetrated. So these are only the big ones where we would have possibly looked for a reversal, but the reversals are not happening at these targets. They're just being hit 1, 2, 3, and that's it. But no reversals on there. Not even building on the underside of them, actually just penetrating to the top on here. So I almost wonder if I need to look at a 2-week chart. Maybe here's where I'm getting a little bit more adherence to the target here on this side. This is more like a sword cut break, but then we fell into weakness. And even here, there's nothing. Let's make sure we fade away these targets in a big way. We need to know that price is no longer responding to these targets. They were the older ones anyway. All right, now we're going to look at the newer one by measuring this previous leg from here to here. So let's finish up and see if we see anything there. All right. This is where we get much more a better response. So our target on top is going to be here. Let's use ice blue for these ones, for the secondary targets. And then here's going to be the next one. It's going to be down here. And then finally, there's a smaller one here. And we'll use those three. Okay. So this is what we're left with. We're left with price giving us a response from here to here. From here to here, we're going to be looking for this to be a target. I don't want to use the previous because we measured that from there. So I'm going to pay attention to $31.75 to $29.58 area. Since we already broke above this target, we may use that as a stepping stone. So I'm going to actually be focused more so on this middle target and see if there's any reason for price to go up there. And then we'll possibly take it. That's where we'd want to possibly take a trade. So the middle target's $18.16 to $16.19. Current price is 13, so there's still some money to be made from 13 to 16 or 13 to 18. And let's now zoom in and see if there's any reasons to take any trades. I'm going to pull price back in front. Let's draw our straight. Actually, it's probably going to be a parabolic. No, it's going to be a straight. Yeah. Yep, it's a straight. Okay. All right. So I got a wick core, nothing for this third point, but I see price building on here. So that's a good thing. And this angle should be the same angle on the bottom. So this key angle is going to be duplicated on the bottom side. There's a wick match that is along this track. If we DP the projection this, it's going to overlap and give me a more accurate target. So let's DP projection that. This is not a tutorial about how to do the DP projection. You just go to my DP module. Under lessons, type in the word lessons on our website in the search bar. So this is going to give me a price of about $15 right now, probably the maximum that we're going to be looking, minus some of the spikes. So I'll be looking maybe like around the conservative side of this target rather than somewhere higher. I'm going to be looking at probably the $16, $19 area. Okay. And since this is a DP, we're going to just make it look like that. Okay. All right, let's fade away this lower one. Don't need that. Okay, now next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at these tops. Let's take a look at the 2-week chart, and I'm going to try to see if the wick match. So the wick match seems to, the wick angle seems to, let's give this another color. Let's use green. Bring back the color. I'm going to clone this out and I'm going to put that angle here. I don't really see anything on that angle, but let me just write something down. Wick angle, wick key angle, and then I'm going to put the time frame as a 2-week chart. Okay. And that's something I want to give myself. And then I'm going to come back to the weekly chart and even the daily chart or 2-day chart and see if that angle was the same angle. And here's where I match. It's close to this angle. It's almost the same. So that's why I'm going to pay attention to that specific angle. So where I put 2-week charts, I'm going to put slash 2-day chart. So that's just to remind me that the 2-day chart and the weekly chart wick angle are the same. So I'm going to probably pay attention to that price. And right now that price is going to be somewhere around $26 dynamic negative. So that means that as time goes on, that number is going to fall lower and lower. But right now it's about there, 26. Okay, so far I'm onto something. Now let's finish up this chart. And some things that highlight or stand out to me is this up angle here. So we're going to draw this up angle and draw our sword cut, and it's going to be somewhere about right there. So I want to draw that one. And let's collect as many of these bottoms. You can see the wicks almost match. So I'm just going to use the conservative side and maybe collect that range where the candles cross over. And they cross over about right there. And we make our sword cut color always orange. Just as a reminder, you don't have to make yours orange, but I like to make mine orange. And it's gonna again overlap on this side. So I'm gonna be looking again at the $16 probably, maybe up to 18. But right now this overlaps about average. So I'm gonna be looking for this to only hit the bottom half for right now. Yeah, and remember, if I was doing the range for this green line, I want to get where they match, approximately where they match. So they're about here. So if I was being really tight with this, I'm going to be about right there. Okay. So I'm going to say, oh, maybe I can be a little bit more liberal with this. I will give you the prices for this: $18.99 to $17.81. All right, I hope you guys are getting better each and every time you do these charts or build some new maps. All right, one final thing I want to do, if I'm hiding my lines, you can get a fresh view at this, and this is something that might be on the board. I want to try to collect all of these, as many as I can, and I seem to get a core here, some wicks here, another core about right there, okay? See? And then I get some wicks that are somewhere here in this area. This angle also has some verification in the past where we're getting that nice round structure here. So maybe it's going to be the points that I need. However, you can see that it's not the same angle that's on the top, and it's not the same angle that's here. Maybe it's some reverberation, but most likely we're going to be looking at a separate angle for the top and bottom. What analysis do I perform when I have two separate angles? How do I navigate that, my friends? Tiger, good job, Bridget. I'm sorry I didn't do class today because I was gone this week and I'm just doing my analysis. But normally I like to do class on Wednesday. We do tiger analysis. So I'm going to find the tiger line. I'm very close to it. Okay. There we go. So this is our tiger angle, and we can already see respect to the tiger line itself. Lots of respect on the tiger line. So very accurate. We're going to now bring up the tiger line to our next relevant areas. We're going to bring it here and here. So I'm going to bring my tiger line, and we're going to find some of these resistances. So there's one coming up somewhere here, and then there's another one that's going to be along here. Okay, I'm not going to look for this to come and enter these bullish areas. We'll be looking for some resistances along these track, okay, and health along this track. So when price is here, it'll have a chance to come up, and here's where we're going to look to come down as we move along this track. So those will come down, which means right now we're in a bullish position. We have a chance for price to come up. And so the next target's going to be somewhere at those prices, $17. So let's now do this a little bit professionally so I can give it to you, and we'll move on. Okay, there's my tiger line. I'll label it tiger. I'll duplicate it, bring it up to those areas, and that's going to give me a little bit of a vortex here. So let's bring this dashed or dotted. I'll make it big and thick so you guys can see it, and then the last one is going to be there at the core. So this is where we're going to place those tigers, and then now I'm going to intercept these areas so you guys can see them. Currently price has a chance to hit the $18, which is sword cut. The tiger overlaps the sword cut, so we're going to be looking at that area, and the tiger also overlaps, and that's it. Yeah, I'm just going to give you these two areas as it comes down. So if it were to go up just today and skyrocket, we're looking 22, we're looking 26, and I'm looking at $15. If I was a betting man, I'm going to say we're going to hit the tiger based on some of this evidence. The tiger hasn't, I'm sorry, the sword cut. The sword cut hasn't been hit. There's a target that's right there. I'm going to say we're going to hit the conservative side somewhere about the middle where these laps. So maybe the liberal side of $18 and the lower side of 17. So I'm going to say somewhere about where the tiger is, $18.98. So I'm going to be looking for $18 to $17. That's the range. So it's a big range, but watch what I'm going to do. So I'll make these real big so you can see it. Pay attention. This will be about the last thing I do today. Okay, so 18 here. As we go down to that window, 17. So 1856, 1781. And if it takes a long time, $16, but this is July. So just giving us this bullish window, 17. So for me, as long as we can phase through here, I think we're going to be bullish up to this side a little bit. I don't want to be super bearish this crypto. I'm thinking we're going to be able to hit this target. It's not far away. I'm going to be a little more bearish this crypto. So Superfood, if I was you, I'd hold on, baby. Possibly a little bit longer. Let USDT.D finish its moving, it's shaking, but probably you want to take some profit. Let's pick the conservative side, 1786. Set your target there and walk away like a boss if USD.D reverses. I think you have a few more days for this to play out, and if you measure how much you're clearing in a single day, like here we cleared here, the next day we cleared there, we can clear this tomorrow or today. You can clear it within a day or two. This is a daily, 2-day chart, so yeah, you can clear it. Okay? Yeah, so I would say you can do it and then look for your pullback after that. Okay, INJ is probably one of the more bullish ones we have today. The rest are, a lot of them are at targets. And then look for this to continue coming back down based on this oscillation and some of the other things. Yeah. All right, and I'll give you the event line, by the way, one more. That's your event angle, your event line, got some verification to it right there. So that lower price in the future, you might be able to pick this up for cheap, real cheap. If not, you might be able to short it $2.75. So don't be surprised if in the future we start playing back down all the way sometime in the future at $2.75. That might very well be the case. Okay. All right. But right now, a little bullish, a little bit longer, back up to sword cut. All right, my friends, that's going to conclude today. I hope you guys have a fantastic day. I want you guys to watch my dream that I had. I want you guys to watch the USDT.D game plan. And if you're interested in any of these cryptos today, pull them up. And you guys have a fantastic day. I'll be right back to answer any closing questions.